Cooney, and this is my Civic Persuasive Appeal speech for Advanced Public Speaking at Brandman University. Today, I will be speaking about a very important issue that impacts our society: carbon emissions. Every day, we see and hear news reports about how carbon emissions will be detrimental to our environment, to our planet, and to our society. And unfortunately, those news reports aren't wrong. This is a big deal, and we do have to do something about it. The United States is responsible for about 16% of global carbon emissions every year, and that's a big contribution to climate change. If we don't reduce these carbon emissions, we're going to see detrimental effects in our environment in the future. Still, no government entities are pushing for punishment or regulation or charges of large carbon producers. We're kind of on our own at this point. And as of 2018, no U.S. states have any laws regulating carbon. However, Washington State has proposed Initiative 1631, which aims to change that. Initiative 1631 would charge $15 per metric ton of carbon produced by large carbon producers. In this speech, I will go over the benefits of 1631, including reduced emissions, funding for green energy, and thousands of state and local jobs created. Let's start at the heart of the matter: carbon emissions. Carbon emissions are higher than at any point in history. In 2017, 32.5 gigatons. Let me say that again. 32.5 gigatons were released into the atmosphere, and that's the entire world in 1 year. That's a big number. Now, to put that into some sort of perspective, in 1950, 1,638 million metric tons were released in the atmosphere by the entire world in 1 year. Now, the US was responsible for 6,511 million metric tons in 2016 for 1 year. That's 4 times the global rate of 1950. So where does Washington fit into all this? What are our contributions to this problem? Well, Washington was responsible for about 94.4 million metric tons of carbon in 2013. Now, Washington State isn't the largest producer. We're not the biggest problem, but we're still contributing to the global problem, and we still have a responsibility to act and help change. Now, these global emissions directly impact climate change, no matter where they come from. So it doesn't matter if they come from Washington or if they come from China. These emissions have a big impact. And some of that impact is the global temperature will continue to rise, which will cause rising sea levels, bigger storms, and higher temperatures, especially in the summer. So these wildfires that we've been seeing, and the hurricanes every year, and the record-setting temperatures for the summer, those aren't a fluke. Those are due to climate change, and that's on us. That's our fault, and it's our responsibility to act to change that. Now, 1631 aims to do that by charging large carbon producers $15 per every metric ton of carbon they produce. And if that's not enough to convince them to lower their emissions, the fee will increase by $2 per ton every year starting in 2021 up until 2035 emissions reduction goal is met. Additionally, the fee will adjust for inflation. Now, I know this fee is steep. It is. It's expensive. But it has to be expensive, or else polluters would just pay it and pay no mind to what they're actually doing. And regardless of how expensive it is, it's still cheaper than the environmental destruction we'll experience if we don't do something now. Yes, this fee is not sustainable for many companies, but that will encourage them to reduce their emissions. And say they decide to go out of state, well, if this law gets passed, then other states and other countries may follow suit. They may start imposing their own carbon regulations. And so eventually, all these big polluting companies will not be able to escape. They will have to face the music sooner or later. Now, the next benefit of 1631 is funding for pollution cleanup and green energy investments. So yes, you were probably asking where all this money was going anyway. So to break it down, 70% of the revenue from 1631 will go to clean energy and air investments. So things like solar energy and wind energy and other renewable resources are going to get this money. And 25% of this revenue will go to clean water and healthy forests. So things like preservation of natural habitats and forests and sustainable water supply, which are both important for a good, healthy ecosystem. Finally, 5% will go to healthy communities, which will help all our communities in Washington combat the effects of climate change. These will all help Washington toward a greener, healthier future. Finally, you may be asking about where jobs fit into all of this. And yeah, it's important. We do need jobs. So already in Washington, many projects exist that have green energy in mind. The environmental website for Washington has a whole map of projects that could benefit immediately from 1631. And as many as 40,000 jobs per year could be created just based on these projects alone. More projects could come to Washington and be created, meaning even more jobs per year. Now, you may be asking how many jobs are lost. 30,000 jobs could be lost, but that's easily made up by all of the good things that could come to Washington. So overall, 1631 is great for Washington's future. It will reduce emissions, it will help fund green energy and pollution cleanup, and it will create jobs and overall a better future. The environment is the most important thing we have to protect right now, and we need to start. And if we don't start now, we're going to be paying far, far more than a $15 emissions fee. So I implore Washingtonians to vote yes on 1631, and I implore anybody outside of Washington to push for your own carbon emissions regulations. So thank you for listening to my speech.